What is going on, everyone? My name is the California Cougar, and welcome back to another Survivor season review. This time, I am talking about season 22, which is Survivor Redemption Island. Now, this season obviously brings a brand new concept, and of course, it is the 22nd season of Survivor, and it also brought two big players back, and it's highly regarded as one of the worst seasons of all time. Sometimes the worst season of all time. A lot of people have it at the very bottom of their Survivor rankings. And so I rewatched it recently to determine how I feel about it, like just once and for all. Because in the past, I used to think this was a guilty pleasure type of season. After rewatching it, I still think it's a guilty pleasure type of season. I will admit, this season's not very good objectively, but for entertainment purposes, I always love watching it. I just really like watching this season. I don't know why. The gameplay's horrible, but it's the cast that makes this season so entertaining for me. I mean, you have players like Boston Rob and Russell, of course. I mean, Russell, he's basically a shell of his former self at this point. He doesn't really do anything significant anymore. I mean, he's still up to some of his old tricks, aligning with younger women. And then you have Boston Rob, who decides to form relationships with people on his tribe, and it works out really well for him, given that he wins the season. Now, part of the reason, or what I like about this season, objectively, what I actually like is Boston Rob's gameplay. Boston Rob's gameplay was absolutely flawless, I feel like, or almost flawless at least. Like, the only time I really felt like he made a mistake was maybe sometime during the merge, but then again, he couldn't really do much. I mean, he did what he had to do to win the game. I would say the only major mistake he made was, I don't know, actually. It's hard to pinpoint any mistakes that Boston Rob made in this game. Part of that is because his tribe was kind of a bunch of sheep, basically. I mean, they all just kind of followed him around, and they waited too long to make any sort of move against him. In fact, I don't even think anybody made a move against him. At least that wasn't on the Ometepe tribe. And although it did involve a lot of luck, I will say that. That's probably the biggest drawback to Rob's game, is it involved a lot of luck. Like, what would have happened if he had landed on the Zapatera tribe instead of Ometepe? Would they have treated Rob the same way they treated Russell? Would they have thrown a challenge to get rid of him? Or would they have treated him like another member of the tribe, or a leader? Kind of like the Ometepe tribe did. You don't know that. What if Zapatera decided not to throw that challenge in the third episode to get rid of Russell? Like, would they have won the challenge? Or, like, because really, if Ometepe does not win, like, the amount of challenges that they do, they're going into the merge down in numbers. They already almost did when Matt came back from Redemption Island. I would say that was Rob's biggest mistake, was getting rid of Matt. I still don't really know why he did that. But yeah, that's another big storyline of this season, is Matt on Redemption Island. He was the guy that spent 29 days or whatever it was of the game on Redemption Island, winning every single duel until the last one, where he ultimately lost to Andrea. But yeah, he was a fun guy to watch. It was so fun to watch him just go crazy in all these duels. He knocked out Russell. He knocked out several other big players from the Zapatera tribe. And yeah, like he was just really fun to watch. He was a Christian that was always reading the Bible, but he didn't necessarily force it down our throat. Unlike a certain season, which we will talk about very soon. Yeah, like, they didn't force religion down our throats this season, I don't feel like. It was brought up every now and then with Matt on Redemption Island, but it wasn't so much to the point where I was like, oh my god, just stop, please. So yeah, I enjoyed Matt's Redemption Island arc this season. I thought it was really good. It sucked to see him go out when he did because I was kind of rooting for him to go up against Boston Rob in like the Final Four challenge. I mean, Rob and Matt would not have been in the Final Three together. I think that's pretty much a fact. In fact, I think if Matt came back from Redemption Island instead of Andrea, and like he doesn't win that first immunity challenge, I think Rob votes him off right away, especially if Ashley wins it. But yeah, speaking of the rest of the cast, Phillip Sheppard. Let's talk about him. This guy, like, oh my god, he was so crazy, but he was so entertaining. He always made me laugh. Like, he was a horrible player. His social skills were inept and absolute trash. He was never going to win the game. Even if at the final tribal council, I know some jury members were considering voting for Phillip because what if it was an act? What if everything that Phillip did was all an act in order to piss off the jury so that people would drag him to the final three thinking that he wouldn't get any votes. Like, some jury members considered voting for Phillip for that reason. But then again, I still don't think Phillip would have won. He clearly showed that it wasn't an act, but with the way he acted towards Julie and Ashley, and I think Steve as well, during that final tribal council, the way he acted towards them, it was he knew he wasn't going to get those two votes, but still, and I think he knew he wasn't going to get Steve's vote as well, but still, like, if you act like that in front of the jury, it's kind of hard for people to want to vote for you, even if it is all an act. So, yeah, like Phillip Sheppard, he was never going to win the game, but man, he was so entertaining with the lion, the gorilla, the feather, his underwear. As cringe as that was at points. The way, like, his rants towards Steve and, like, Natalie and Ashley not doing anything around camp. Like, his argument with Steve about race and rice and all that, like, that was kind of over the top. I don't think he needed to go there and bring race into anything. But, yeah, like, Rob and Grant were just enjoying it. His arguments, his arguing and yelling at his tribe mates was always funny. His antics were hilarious. The special agent thing, like FBI, whatever. He just made me laugh my ass off. Like, that's really what it comes down to. Without him, the season would not have been nearly as entertaining. And, of course, with Boston, Rob, and Matt as well. And even Russell in the first 3 episodes. He was entertaining to watch. And his little rivalry with Ralph. Ralph finding the idol, like, just by accident, basically. Like, Ralph was kind of funny as well. I mean, and I feel like David was trying to play the game. He just got put on a really bad tribe. I feel like he would be a much better tribe member, or a much better player if he was put on a different tribe. Maybe even with Boston Rob. And the same thing can be said about Natalie, the only difference being Natalie without Boston Rob. I would love to see Natalie play again without Boston Rob and see how she would do. Would she just be the coattail rider that she was in Redemption Island, or would she be a better player? Like, maybe some sort of like Ashley type where she was a lot more social, but maybe didn't really make too many strategic moves. Which, by the way, I think if Ashley wins that final immunity challenge instead of Rob, I think they vote off Rob at the Final Four and Ashley wins the game. That's what I think would have happened. But then again, Natalie was so attached to Rob that maybe she would have voted Ashley anyway, or maybe they would have voted Phillip out. I don't know. Rob probably would have tried to go after Phillip at that point, but who knows what would have happened. So yeah, Rob won challenges at the right time. He made all the right moves at the right time. He knew to get David out and Mike out as quickly as possible because they were the bigger threats on the Zapatera tribe. He knew what he was doing. And yes, it did take a lot of luck. And of course it was his 4th try. The cat and his tribe mates were all idiots on the Ometepe tribe. They didn't want to do anything. But he played that game really well. So you have to give credit where credit is due. And the only reason he didn't sweep the jury vote was because Ralph was clearly very bitter towards him. So, yeah. And he just wanted to give Phillip some love. Now, of course, enough talking about how entertained I was by the season. Speaking of which, the challenges and rewards, I thought they were good as well. Let's talk about some of the aspects that many people hate this season for, and it's very understandable to see why. First off, the cast was very weak, especially on the Ometepe tribe. Again, aside from the few people I mentioned, Rob, Phillip, Grant to a certain extent, David to a certain extent, Russell to a certain extent. Other than those people, there really wasn't much depth within the cast at all. Steve was just kind of there. He was boring. Mike, yeah, he was good in duels, but that's really all he was there for. Oh, and Matt. I forgot to mention Matt as one of the memorable players. I guess Stephanie, she was alright. I mean, I'd like to see her play again, but she was just kind of okay this season. I feel like she got screwed by being stuck on a tribe with Russell. But I do see potential in her. Julie, boring. Who else? The Ometepe tribe. Natalie, again, I mentioned I'd like to see her play without Boston Rob and see how she would do. Phillip already did play without Boston Rob, and we'll talk about that when we talk about Survivor Caramoan. But, yeah. Natalie, like Grant, I mean, he was alright. Who else? Ashley, whatever. Andrea, I'm still surprised she got brought back for Caramoan and for Game Changers. That still baffles me to this day. I didn't really think she was that significant of a player in Redemption Island. She was okay, but she wasn't really anything special. But, I mean, I guess she was better in later seasons. I don't know. And then the rest of the Zapatera. Krista, she was just there as Russell's pawn. Sarita, lame. So many forgettable people. I might be missing some people. That's how forgettable they all are. Like Christina, Phillip, or I already mentioned Phillip. Christina, Francesca is what I meant to say. They were just there to be rivals to Phillip for the first couple seasons. Didn't really provide anything special, I don't think. Like, there really was, and of course the gameplay. Aside from Rob and maybe David on the Zapatera tribe, there really wasn't a lot of it. There was almost no strategy. No one on the Ometepe tribe ever wanted to flip to get rid of Rob. Because, like, Rob had them so in control. Like, just do it, as long as they do what they're told, they'll do, like, as long as they do what they're told, I'll be just fine. And sure enough, he was. The loved one's visit wasn't all that memorable. And then, of course, the biggest flaw with this season that I have personally is Redemption Island itself. I thought that twist was hopelessly lame. I don't think it worked at all. It took up way too much screen time, way more than it ever needed to. Like, there were no reward challenges. And that's part of the reason why I loved watching Survivor, was because of all the challenges. But, like, it was just duels. And yeah, you might think those are challenges. It's between two people. One of them goes home, the other does not. There's really not a lot of suspense. You often know who's going to win the duel pretty early on. There's really not a lot of suspense within that. And plus, reward challenges are just way better. And like Redemption Island, it could have screwed some people over as well. It kind of did that. Like, it didn't really do that to Matt. It didn't really screw anybody over this season, but I mean, I don't know. The twist just did not work for me. I didn't enjoy it. It just took up way too much screen time, and it was just kind of a waste. So yeah, I was disappointed with the Redemption Island twist as well. Other than that, I mean, there's not really much else to talk about. Rob was out there just dominating the season. That's really what you watch this season for. If you want to see Boston Rob dominate a season, or if you want to see crazy Phillip Sheppard just go bananas out on the island, just doing these weird special agent stealth or us stuff, like, and if you want a good laugh, then you can watch this season. Otherwise, not really that great of a season. So yeah, this season is a guilty pleasure of mine, so I will watch it from time to time, but when it comes to some of the best seasons of Survivor, this is nowhere near the mark. So yeah, with all that being said, I'm going to give Survivor Redemption Island a score of 5 out of 10. Alright, and there's my review of Survivor Redemption Island. Have you seen Survivor Redemption Island? Make sure to let me know down in the comments below what you thought of it. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed this video. And make sure you subscribe to my channel for more content to come in the future. Next week I'm talking about Survivor South Pacific. So stay tuned for that. And until that next video, once again, my name is the California Cougar. And always remember to stay California cool. Peace.